Today, I'm going to talk about why I personally stopped using credit cards. And just to clarify, if you use credit cards, that's totally cool. I literally just stopped, I've been using them for a while. I know that there are benefits to using them. Um, so I understand if you use them. I'm not saying you have to quit. I'm not saying you're a bad person or anything like that. I'm just giving um, my personal, I guess, experience with credit cards and why I have decided to stop using them. I'd always heard people like Dave Ramsey say, oh, don't use credit cards. They're stupid. Just use debit. And along with many other people, I looked at him and is like, come on, man. Like, I get it. I get why you're saying that, but also like if you use it responsibly, you can benefit from that. Um, that's the mindset I used to have, and I think that's the mindset a lot of people have. But I'm going to explain why I no longer think that. Why I actually agree that it's better to just not use credit cards, even if you are responsible. So for some background, I'm 23 years old. I've been using credit cards for about 2 years, and I'm a very responsible user, always paid it off immediately or had automatic payments in place. I never spent money that I did not have. In fact, one time I got low on my savings were low and I was on a trip and I specifically stopped using my credit card because I was like, I'm not even gonna get close, right? I do not want to accidentally go over and then, not be able to pay and get interest for that. So I consider myself a very, very responsible credit card user. But there are 4 reasons why I no longer use them. And the first one is that I realized that the rewards for them are pretty negligible. Now I know that you can you can really take advantage of rewards, and I'm going to go into that later. But for the average person getting a normal card with no annual fee, 1%, 2%, even 3% cash back is really not much. I remember the last card I got was a Capital One Saver card, and I think it had 2% universal cash back with like 3% on certain categories. And I remember doing the calculations and being like, okay, based on what I normally spend in a year, I expect to get about $300 in cash back over the course of one whole year, assuming that I use my credit card for every single purchase, which I don't use it for every purchase. Stuff like rent. I know you can. There's a way, some kind of workaround to pay for rent using credit cards, but that's complicated, I don't use my credit card for all purchases, just most, groceries and stuff like that. And I realized, like, wow, $300? Like, I mean, hey, $300 is great, but like, really? That's it? Like, for a whole year? $300. That's really, yeah, that's really not that much, almost negligible in my opinion. Maybe you would disagree, but, if you're making an average wage in the year 2025 or 2026, $300 over the course of a year is not much at all. So yeah, that's my first reason, is I just feel like the rewards are not that great. They're really not that great. They're almost negligible in almost all cases. Now, I'm going to go into my second reason now. And my second reason is that credit cards, if you actually want to take advantage of them and get good, meaningful rewards out of them, then credit cards are complicated and they take a lot of work. Okay? Trust me, I had a phase where I got into this, like, oh, I'm going to start credit card churning, take advantage of those sign-on bonuses or whatever the heck they're called, sign-up bonuses. And I'm going to get like tons of free flights and cash back and all this really cool stuff. I really did a lot of research on this and really thought I was going to get into this. And I travel. I've traveled a lot, and I have literally met people who basically live off of their credit card. Like they permanently live in hotels and take flights all over the world for a fraction of the cost using their credit card. So trust me, for all you people that are going to go down in the comments and tell me like, I know, yeah, you can really benefit from credit cards. All right, I'm not saying it's not possible, but in order to get to a point like that where you are actively really like saving hundreds of dollars, it takes a lot of work, right? And if you factor in the amount of work that it takes to get to that point, in my opinion, it's not worth it. When you do the math, it ends up being, the time you're spending, the literally hours every single week for a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s. Even then, that's lower than minimum wage, guys. Like this is not a good use of your time, right? And it's just complicated, even just being a normal credit card user, even cash back. I remember I had a Discover card and I had to manually go in every single month and like activate the rewards. And, if I wanted to buy a flight through Capital One, you have to like go through the app and go through this long, tedious process. And sometimes it won't let you buy it. You have to buy it at a certain time, only if it's available, blah, blah, blah. And, if you have one of these good cards like the Venture X card, for example, that give you really good rewards. Well, first of all, there's a huge fee, right? You're paying, I don't even know what the fee is now, like $600 a year, something like that. It's somewhere around that, maybe even more now. And in order to reap the rewards, you really have to keep track of your your flight points and be like, okay, if I don't take a flight this year, then I will have lost money on my annual fee or whatever, and it's like, I could save money, sure, but I prefer freedom and flexibility, and if I'm going to lose $300 in cash back every year, to gain freedom and not have to think so much and not have to go through these long processes and not have to pay an annual fee, then you know what? To me, that's worth it for me, right? Debit cards, they have no fees. They're super simple. If you have money in your account, the transaction doesn't go through. And if you do, then it does, right? It just takes directly out of your bank account. It's simple as that. No maintenance required whatsoever. It's just so much more simple, and to reiterate, I know like you can really, really benefit from these rewards, but it's going to take you a lot of work. Like it's like a part-time job. Trust me, I know people who do this stuff. Like it's a lot of work. You really have to be committed. And, I'm so organized. I love making spreadsheets and looking at spreadsheets and organizing my life and automating things. And I tell you what, man, credit card churning is so monotonous and it's slavery, man. It is just slave work. Like it's not fun. Okay. So that's my second reason, I think I've yapped on about that enough. But my third reason is more of an over-encompassing reason that's not exactly applicable to me, because like I said, I was a very responsible credit card user. Okay, never paid any interest at all. But the truth is that if you do not have a credit card and you are thinking of getting one, pretty much everyone believes that they are going to be like I was, that they are going to be responsible, they're going to pay it off immediately, blah, 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 right? But the truth is, the facts, the numbers show that most of you will fail. Most of you will not be responsible, okay? That's just a fact. Everybody thinks they will be responsible, and almost nobody is. I am oh my God, sorry, my words. I am an anomaly, okay? People like me are rare, but everybody thinks that they're like me or that they can be like me. But let me tell you, it takes one missed payment to instantly lose all the progress you've made over an entire year, okay? Seriously, that's all it takes is one tiny slip up. That's all it takes. And quite frankly, even if you are responsible, let's say you have a card and you are like me and you're responsible, okay? People like you and me, we're basically free advertising for these credit card companies, right? Because if everybody used credit cards and everybody was irresponsible and everybody lost money, that'd be a pretty bad look, right? But people like us, we are fantastic advertising, right? People who don't have credit cards, they look at people like us, the responsible ones, and they say, hey, I can do that. But then again, the numbers show they think that, they get a credit card, and they end up losing money. Almost everybody loses money. Okay, and even if you're not losing money, you are effectively a billboard for the credit card companies, enticing other people to come in, and they will lose their money, or most of them will, I guess I should say. Okay, so that's my third reason, is that, everybody knows it. Everybody knows how bad credit card debt is. It's horrible. It's like the worst debt in the world. Everybody knows that, and everybody knows that most credit card users lose money from it. And yet, everybody thinks that they won't be one of those people, that they won't be part of the majority. So, yeah, just it's a slippery slope, It's not good, right? But I want to talk about my fourth and final reason, because all of these reasons I could look past them, right? I'm a responsible user. If I travel internationally more than once a year, if I had the Venture X card, I would save money, and I would basically sacrifice nothing, right? So why don't I do that, right? I love to travel. I travel a lot. Why don't I do that? Well, it's because of this fourth reason. This fourth reason is really the straw that broke the camel's back for me. My fourth and final reason why I don't use credit cards is because credit cards are bad for vendors. They're bad for the people that you are giving your money to. And I didn't know this, but there are, I highly encourage you to watch a video on this, because I had no idea. I thought, hey, credit card companies, they make money off of stupid people that miss their payments and, 30% interest, blah, 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 right? No, that is not where credit cards make their money. Credit cards make their money by being the middleman and taking money from every single purchase you make. You know what I found out? My Capital One credit card takes 5% of every single purchase that I make on it. 5% of every purchase. Now, I'm not paying anything extra, okay? To be clear, they're not charging me 5% extra. No. They are taking that 5% from the merchant, from the vendor who I'm giving my money to, right? And they have a rule with vendors, okay? They have a rule that vendors cannot charge extra, right? So you might be thinking, well, what the heck? That doesn't make sense, right? These credit cards take 5% of the purchase, and yet the vendors aren't allowed to charge extra. They're not allowed to say, hey, if you use a credit card, we're going to charge you 5% extra, since they're taking 5%. They're not allowed to do that, right? So that doesn't make any sense. Why would merchants do that? Well, think about it. They do it because everyone in this country uses a credit card. If you are a merchant, right, you can not accept credit card, and then, you'll save some money. but you will lose a lot of customers. I mean, you will lose a lot of people. A lot of people will not buy from you just because they won't be able to get their 1% cash back. Seriously. So pretty much everyone is forced to comply, and the credit card companies are literally a middleman taking a percentage of every single purchase for nothing. They're not doing anything. They're not providing any value, okay? And 5% is a huge amount. So what this means is that if you are buying something and you support the company that you are buying from, or let's say you're buying from a small business, the best thing that you can do is to pay with cash or with a debit card. Because if you pay with a credit card, the company is going to lose some of that profit, some of that the money that you just gave them to buy their service or their product. They're going to lose 5% of that to the credit card company, right? And I don't know about you, but when I buy things, I tend to buy things from companies that I support and that I like, right? And honestly, I don't want 5% of my money, 5% of all my money that I'm spending, I don't want it to go to Capital One or Discover. I want it to go to the merchant that I'm paying, right? Again, with the small business example, if I'm buying, flowers at a small family-owned flower boutique shop, I want all of that money to go to them. Okay? I don't want 95% of it to go to them. I want 100% of it to go to them. Right? I want to support them. So by using credit cards, you are basically hurting the companies that you buy from. Right? So if you support companies and you want them to be successful, then pay with a debit card, right? And like I said, yeah, you're not going to get 1% cash back, which again, 1% sounds great, but do the math, man. Do the math. Okay, do the math on 1%. You're going to realize you're making pennies off of that, okay? And you're helping the vendors more, right? You're spending money that you have rather than borrowing someone else's money and spending it. And it's just simpler. It's better. It's simpler, okay? So those are my 4 reasons why I don't use a credit card. Again, if you use a credit card and you're using it responsibly and you're profiting off of it, you're really reaping the rewards, then good for you. Great. You do you. Keep doing it. I'm not saying stop. Just personally, it's not worth it, I remember getting cards, just getting the cards alone. I spent so many hours researching what is the best card to get, what kind of credit score do I need to get it? When should I upgrade it? It's so much effort. It's so much effort, So if you're like me and you prefer simplicity and flexibility and supporting the companies that you buy from, right? Just use a debit card. Simple as that. It's so simple. It's so simple. Just use a debit card. There are no downsides whatsoever. You're not going to be penalized. You're not going to hurt anyone else. You're not supporting scummy businesses that target vulnerable people with finance problems, right? So, yeah, that's my story. Take my words into consideration or not, to each their own. But, yeah, I hope somebody got something out of this. Maybe I can convince a handful of you. So, yeah, thanks for listening. Have a great day.